We are about 10 miles, I think, south of Los Alamos, where they built the hydrogen bomb. We tried to get in there, but it turns out we do not have national security clearance.
Oh my God, there's a waterfall down there. It is so pretty.
Honey, don't throw yourself over the edge.
Did you know the fear of heights isn't necessarily being up high as much as it is the fear of throwing yourself over the edge? So when he says, don't throw myself over the edge, I do have this fear. It is a feeling you get when you stand on the edge of something that is very high up that you could die from. It's not like I don't get it when I'm like a few feet up on a ladder. I have to be very high up on an escalator, or in this case, as you can see, well, not him, but we're pretty high up. So going on the edge could make me want to throw myself over.
The reason it's a problem is because their spouses get blamed for them being pushed off cliffs. I just want to say for the record.
Oh, so those murders?
I just want to say for the record, if Denise ever dies by falling off a cliff, I just want everyone to know I can afford to leave her. I make enough money. I'll be good. I would never, ever push her off a cliff, okay?
Thank you for that.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Hey listeners, ever wonder what it would be like to sell everything and travel the country at the tender age of 50? Well, with our last kid off to college and the ability to now work remotely, we've decided to do just that. So we're selling the house, loading up the dog, and hitting every city from California to Florida. We're scouring the country for a new place to call home and dragging you into every restaurant, Airbnb, and tourist trap we encounter along the way. This is the Skip Town All-Stars podcast.
What's up, All-Stars? Welcome to another episode. We have made our exodus from the Beehive State. We are out of Utah. We've actually been through Arizona at this point, and we are coming to you not live from beautiful Santa Fe, New Mexico. It is by far exceeded our expectations so far. Would you not agree?
Agreed, 100%.
But we will get to Santa Fe later. We have a lot to talk about when it comes to Sedona, Arizona.
We do.
And our journey there. So, Trixie, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really good. Yeah, I'm having an issue with my throat. Everyone keeps asking me if I have a cold, and I don't. The truth is I've been doing a lot of talking, and I realized that, believe it or not, prior to us starting this podcast, in my profession, I really didn't talk much. I talked with clients, but once I would start my permanent makeup procedure on them, there was maybe an hour and a half of no talking. And if I had 3 clients that day, that is 4 hours, 4.5 hours? I don't know. I'm not good at math. 4.5 hours of no talking. So I really didn't talk much prior to this. Yeah, I don't know what's happening there.
Well, Roxy is, for those of you watching on YouTube, you see Roxy's made a little cameo.
She
Not sure what's happened there.
Cord. She's sitting on the cord.
Yeah,
just
let
so
her
you know.
sit there.
Okay.
Let me just check the mic. But she's had her little potty break. She's had a few biscuits and she's had water. So I think right now she's just looking for attention. You can see her down here in the bottom of the screen if you're watching on YouTube.
And she's literally sitting on my feet and on the cords.
Yep. And that's our gray lady. But fortunately, we sound good so far. So we're just going to roll with it.
So anyway, I'm doing great, but just my voice. But anyway, okay, I'm great. How are you? How are you? How are you?
I'm fine, except I've had an amazing time in both places we were. But last night, for some reason, this doggy wanted up at 2:30 a.m. and then again at 4:30 a.m. to be let out. So the second time, I just let her out in the courtyard of the hotel. I didn't even go outside. I was like, you know what? If she wants to run away at this point, let her. I can't do this anymore. It's like being with a newborn. So,
but not really. Newborns are a lot more work.
Oh, well, yeah, probably. Otherwise, doing well. Excited to talk to you all today. We are going to talk about picking up the doggy, speaking of which, in Zion. We left Zion after an amazing few days at Under Canvas.
We did. It was a trip that I had planned. It was a surprise trip for James. My version of camping, which was
glamping, and it was a lot of fun. Under Canvas was great. If you haven't listened to episode 6, please do so. We spell it out in great detail. It was a fantastic time. Cut to picking up the dog at doggy daycare. We left her there after hiking the Narrows. We did not want to be rushed getting out of the canyon and then racing down into the little town. So we left the doggy overnight, and I think she had a little resort experience of her own because when the time came for the attendant to give her back to us, she actually did not run to me. She ran back out into the yard with all the other little doggies. So cut again to us getting her and collecting her in the van finally. And then her staring out the window for 4 straight hours all the way to Sedona, not even making eye contact with us.
Yeah. So the drive to Sedona was a little harrowing because we are not good at what's the word when you
Planning.
No, okay. We're good at planning, I think, but we're not good at tracking weather. We are not good at tracking weather, and people have been dropping DMs on us and actual text messages saying, "Hey, have you checked the weather in the next city you're going to?"
Yeah, are you sure you want to go to the south?
Yeah, and we're like, "Oh, okay. Well, I guess we should look at the weather." And it's usually very last minute, and our drive to Sedona proved that as we legitimately drove into a storm, and we saw it in the horizon, and there were cars turning around on the freeway in front of us that were also heading into that storm, but we decided to just barrel ahead.
Well, I kept thinking, because I kept seeing it on our right, and I said, oh no, we're going to miss it. We're going to miss it. And then on the GPS, you saw a huge bend in the road sending us directly right into the storm.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And you kept saying, it's fine. It's fine. I'm like, no, look. And then he would enlarge the GPS screen. You got very quiet because you did not want to address that we were heading right into a storm.
Yeah.
It wasn't as bad as I thought. People were talking about monsoons. So in any case, we made it through. And then once we got out of that storm, we came across a lot of Native American vendors on the side of the freeway that were selling goods. And I ended up stopping at one and purchasing a few items, like some bracelets. You got a necklace.
Yeah.
It was really actually great. It's what I wanted to do. I was so happy that I could, patronize a local business. I literally went to the family of the woman I purchased from. She told me her dad had made a necklace. Her brother had made some bracelets. And her house was right down the street from her setup. And
and mind you, we were miles and miles into Navajo Nation at this point. So, I mean, it was a lot. Everywhere you looked, there was reservation on either side of the freeway. So it was pretty obvious it was going straight into her household in the community, which felt good.
Yeah, it was great. I loved what I purchased as well. So that was great. Then we started heading towards Sedona again and hit a sandstorm because the monsoon wasn't bad enough. If you are following us on Instagram, I have video to show you what a sandstorm looks like in Arizona.
You can literally see pillars of weather off in the distance. Like it looks like a column coming down from the sky of gray, or in the case of the sandstorm, pure white. So it was magnificent to see all of that, nature's creation in its natural form or what have you. But
2 times.
It was also a little spooky the minute we got into this. When we got into the sandstorm, I didn't really care about the rain. I knew we'd be fine there. But the sandstorm was a situation where you could not see like 10 feet in front of the car. So.
Oh yeah. At one point he slammed on the brakes and I was so worried that we were going to hit the car in front of us or someone was going to rear-end us because you could not see in front of you. I mean, it was very dangerous. So we got extremely lucky.
But the only way through it was through it, and we did it. And we came out to Sedona on the other side. I'm happy to report we actually arrived somewhere in the daytime again.
We did.
That was fun.
We've been having a terrible habit of arriving night at most of our destinations, but the last couple we have planned it appropriately, and we've arrived when the sun is still out.
So tell us about Sedona and the arrival, the landing.
Okay, so Sedona was my idea. I've heard so many wonderful things about Sedona. Living in California, a lot of people venture out to Sedona, and it's supposed to be this magical destination. When you go there, you're basically like you're thrown into like ethereal happiness. That's the only way I can really explain it.
4 vortexes of energy
Are supposedly surrounding the town of Sedona. So all I kept thinking about on our travels was that we would get to Sedona and it would be life changing. It didn't really happen like that. And I can't explain why. If I had to guess, I would say to you, it has a lot to do with who you know and where you stay. So for us, we decided not to stay at an Airbnb. We decided to stay at a corporate hotel because the Airbnbs were just average at most.
and they were astronomical. A lot of them were really expensive.
They were very overpriced. The ones that we were looking at were situated right in downtown Sedona, which I thought the location would be great. So when we ended up going on the outskirts of Sedona, I was really pissy about it. I mean, I was upset that we were so far from downtown. We were in a corporate hotel. We stayed at a Residence Inn by Marriott. But the truth was, it was the best day.
You threw a little fit at first, so let's just hang on that for a second. You were not happy. You said, why are we staying here? It's almost as expensive as some of the Airbnbs, which wasn't true, but there were definitely cuter hotels we could have stayed in.
I don't think it would have changed our experience though. So all of that to say, I'm really glad that we stayed at the Residence Inn. It was huge. I mean, the room was basically a suite for the same price of a room.
Yeah.
It had a couch in it, a full kitchen with a stove.
A long desk for me to do my work at. I had to post an episode a day there, and we had a lot.
It gave you the room to do it. So, and in that case, when I walked in, I stopped being as pissy, but it took a little while.
No, it took her an hour and a half with the dog. I actually went outside to think. I thought she got lost. I mean,
I did take a walk with the dog. It was the first time on this whole trip where I took a really, really long walk. I just kind of wanted to see where we were, and I needed him to have a break from me, and that's really the truth. Like I
was pretty frustrated.
Yeah, he was really frustrated with me, so I needed to give him a break. So I went for a really long walk, like about an hour, and then I came back to the hotel, and he was outside looking for me.
Yeah, well, I got locked out in the process of that. So
sorry.
She left her phone. Her hotel, you had your hotel card.
I did.
That's the only thing you had. You left your phone
My
in the
purse,
room.
everything.
I left the car keys in the room. I left the hotel key that I had just been given in the room. And
you're a hot mess. You are legitimately a hot mess when we go on these adventures because you don't have anything on you ever.
I left my phone in the room as well. So I left my wallet in the room. So when I went to the front desk, I was really hoping that the same attendant that had checked us in was still there.
Because you literally had no idea and you were getting a room card. Okay.
Yeah, I was like, I don't even know if she has a room card. I was going to leave your phone in the room so that when you got back to the room, you could call me, and still waited for you for a while, but that was fine because we were both simmering off. So newsflash, kids, sometimes mom and dad fight, and afterward, Dad gives mom a very special hug and everything is all right.
Okay.
You were not open to a very special hug that night.
I was definitely not open to a very special hug that night. Anyway, so, we're in Sedona. Where did we go and eat? Did we even eat? We didn't eat anywhere that night. Okay. We were so kind of irritated with each other. I don't want to say mad because there was no reason to be mad. I was more irritated with him, and then he was irritated with me because I was irritated with him.
Well, I mean,
it's
in
fine.
fairness,
Okay, so
we had selected this place together the night before, but Denise was on her phone while I was booking the hotel. And even though I had ran it by her, she was kind of only half paying attention because she was embroiled in whatever task she was doing at the time.
Yep.
So
I thought it was a different price. I thought everything, but okay. So we didn't eat that night.
We landed in the room, and all of a sudden she realized that, she realized that she had a hand in picking this place.
Yes.
And then she decided to take it out on me.
A little bit. Okay.
Whatever.
So what ended up happening is that since it was my idea to go to Sedona, I wanted to do a lot of Sedona-esque things. So I booked us the 3.5 hour canyon hike that ended with yoga while the sun was setting. I thought that would be a really cool thing to do because we are literally hiking in the canyon and we're looking at all of these magical vortex mountains around us.
Yeah.
It ended up being beautiful. It was exactly what I had anticipated. It
was gorgeous.
Was even better.
No lie. So we met our yoga instructor / hiking guide.
Yep.
At
her name was Zoe.
Zoe. We met her at Chapel of the Holy Cross. Denise told me we were going to do this right. I don't know, maybe half an hour before, and just
I didn't want him to. I honestly waited until we left because I didn't want him worried about it. It was 3.5 hours, and I knew that when he heard the time length and then he heard
that's
yoga,
a long time to be doing yoga.
He was gonna freak.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm keeping this shit under wraps.
And you know, I've worked out at a variety of places over the years. I know the value of Pilates and yoga and mobility and all that stuff. I get it. I'm an ex-football player. I suck at it. You know, it's just, I'm horrible.
I know, but
I don't like doing it because I'm not good at it. And I see all these limber people. I see old men just like, reaching to the sky. And I'm like, okay, I can barely,
I've said this to him before because I've made him do yoga with me in the past. There's no right or good way to do it. You just do it and you just do what you can do. But in any case, I knew he would be in his head. So
well,
I decided
3.5 hours is a daunting, like, an hour-long yoga session in the past has been like, oh my God, like by minute 20, I'm like ready to tap
I know,
out.
but I knew
I feel like I've been in an MMA fight at that point because I'm just not flexible at all. And so I'm ready to I'm like tapping out and there's nobody even wrestling me. So,
well, I knew it wasn't going to be 3.5 hours of straight yoga. I knew there'd be some hiking involved. The yoga didn't really feel like an hour and a half. Did it feel like an hour and a half to you?
Yeah, totally. It felt like 4 hours. But so we met at Chapel of the Holy Cross, which is a huge, visitor attraction when you go to Sedona.
It's actually a chapel that is built into
the rock. Yeah,
yep.
It's pretty incredible. And so from there, we could see Cathedral Rock. We saw Elephant Rock. We saw Bell Rock. We saw Madonna with Child. And we wrapped around the Two Sisters. There are 2 points right there. But then we made our way all the way up to Chicken Point Overlook. That's where I actually have footage. You'll be able to see it on the YouTube channel or our social media when I get that stuff uploaded.
I'll post it.
Yeah.
It was really
gorgeous.
Beautiful.
I broke out the wide lens to try and capture as much of this as I could for you guys. It was overlooking that valley. Like we'd been to Zion, and it's interesting that every state we go to, the mountains or the valleys
different.
or the canyons are distinctly different. And so the
rock formations are just different.
It was an incredible view. So by the time we got to yoga, we had hiked a bit and I was loose and I didn't mind it as much. And really there came a point in the yoga where I was like, I'm just doing what I could do at this point. That's all I can do.
We sat on top of a rock and we looked at all of the vortexes around us that were supposedly
giving us energy.
Yeah, filled with certain energies.
I was not feeling that energy, but go on.
And it was beautiful. The sun was setting while we were doing it. It was exactly what had been described when I purchased the adventure for us. The yoga instructor was legit a yoga instructor. Yeah. She made her own kombucha. Her kids were homeschooled. She taught yoga.
She walked the walk.
She absolutely
walked the walk. Yeah.
Walked the walk. So afterward, we went to a really fantastic Thai place.
What was the name of the company, by the way, or the gentleman that owns the company?
Hiking. I'll tell you right now. It was.
Because I feel like we have to give them a shout out. It was a highlight of our trip, even though I hate yoga.
Vortex Yoga Hiking in Sedona.
There you go.
It was exactly how they described it. It was Vortex Yoga hiking in Sedona.
All right. So,
okay, but
we had to wait. I feel like we need to explain Vortex a little bit for people who've never been there. So, allegedly, there are 4 areas or mountains where the crystals or the minerals in the ground provide some sort of energy funnel around them. And if you allegedly go to these places.
And each one is a different energy.
Yeah.
One could be for happiness, one can be
Healing,
for
stuff like that.
healing. Yes. And so each vortex gives you some sort of energy.
Yeah. So when we were finished, all we cared about was where to go to eat. And
Yep.
so we were recommended a great Thai place by Zoe. It is called, I remember she said it, just think fan. It is fresh and natural Thai food or something like that. It was fantastic.
That was perfect.
You
Fresh and
loved it.
natural Thai food. That
Is
was
that it?
exactly
That was
the
it,
name of
right?
it. Yep.
And you loved it. And
I
you're
did.
not normally known for your passion for Thai.
I like Thai. I'll eat it. It's not my first choice ever. Italian's always my first choice. But whenever they say Thai, anyone in the family, I always go. I like certain sauce. Like I like the peanut sauce on most of my things. I like the plum sauce or the sweet and sour, however they call it. This place had neither. So I was pretty disappointed. And once again, showing my frustration, Pissy sat down at my table because I had just hiked 4 hours and I was hungry. But then when the food came, it was phenomenal.
Oh my
I was
God,
so
she
glad it
scarfed it
didn't
up.
have that
They
on
get
there.
huge portions. You had half of yours left and you had devoured so much already.
Fresh and natural Thai
It
food in
was good. It
Sedona.
was just what the doctor ordered. Felt pretty healthy. Woke up the next morning and I said to myself, I'm feeling pretty good. And then you dropped the bomb on me.
You're getting hypnotized.
Yeah. So tell us about what you had planned.
Okay, so I wanted to do, like I said, something very Sedona-esque. And I came across somebody that hypnotizes, and it was more than one person I'd come across. I mean, at that point, I was finding lots of hypnotists, and I thought, ooh, this might be fun. So what can I
Hypnotize my husband into doing?
Yep.
Well, she knew behavior was off the list because that's never going to take hold. It's a really hippy dippy place. I mean, I can't say that enough for the listeners. If you haven't been there, it's everywhere you go. There are crystals, there are spiritual advisors, there are hypnotists, which I didn't know. Actually, I didn't even consider it. I just thought, maybe we'll go get a massage or something like that, which I think is originally your intent.
Oh, I got a massage.
Yeah, you did.
I got a massage while he got hypnotized.
Yeah, she booked me out of the massage and booked me into the hypnotization.
It's true.
So,
I did.
So tell him what you had him hypnotize me for, and we can expand on it.
So, okay. If you know James, then you know he struggles with his weight. Our friends know this. He works out at several different gyms. He's tried several different personal trainers. He's changed his diet many times. And it honestly just stems from poor eating habits from when he was a child. I mean, it's just super straight up simple like that. And what he loves to do, I know this because I've been with him for so long, he loves to snack.
I'm a snacker for sure.
We could have a great meal, both leave it, be full as can be, and he will go home and grab a bag of pretzels. And I will say to him,
love pretzels.
Are you hungry? And he'll say, don't talk to me right now.
Yeah, I just want the pretzels.
So
I have a bad habit of doing this. So just spell out like an average work day. I will go and work out. I work out at a lot of places. She's right. I've been to a lot of gyms. I enjoy working out. I love it. Even at the age of 50, I was able to bust out 50 burpees on my birthday. I'm one of those frustrated fat people where I can still do the majority of the things asked of me in the gym. But I will come home, have a little breakfast, do a morning Zoom for work or whatever, do my job. And then all of a sudden I'll look up at 4 or 5 p.m. and I'll be starving because I've skipped lunch. I didn't really have a sizable breakfast. I will eat then and it'll be rational. But then I'll finish around 7 or 8 p.m. and I'll just like destroy everything in the refrigerator. I am a late night snacker. It's a horrible habit. I'm well aware of my bad habits. I'm also well aware of what I need to do if I'm to cut the weight. So it is frustrating sometimes when you go in, it's like, oh, okay, I can bust out 2 miles or I can do a slew of push-ups. And I see other people around me getting thinner. And I know, and every trainer I've ever been to, and this is a fact, you'll hear it on every health educational, YouTube influencer, you cannot out train a bad diet. It's just that simple. And so
So he had told me, and he comes from a family of people that are overweight, but he did share with me one time that his mom, who was also overweight, had gotten hypnotized, and she lost like 35 or 40 pounds.
yeah, she lost a bunch of weight when I was a
So
kid.
I remembered that. I knew that was something he would never do in Los Angeles. Like, never. I mean, if I had asked him in LA, he'd be like, no. So, but we're in Sedona. So I could spring it on him then. And I did. So on the way to our
I
appointment,
had very mixed emotions for the record.
I-
I was sat there in the car quietly for a second. I was like, oh my God, okay.
yeah,
We're
because I
doing this.
told him on the way there. All he knew was that we were headed someplace, but didn't know anything about it. And then I told him in the car, he was getting hypnotized and I was going to get a massage.
Yeah.
So, okay, but to be fair, I did do a hippy dippy massage because I had to make it like in line with what he was doing. So I couldn't get like a Swedish massage. I had to get something weird, and I did. So I got something called an Indian sacral massage. And what that is that it's basically based around your head, neck, and shoulders a little bit, but mostly your head and neck, and pressure points on your face.
Sacral or sacred?
Sacral.
Okay. Because that sounds like it's part of your back.
Do I have it wrong?
I don't know.
I'll have to look it up. I thought that's what it was, but I thought, isn't that
Well,
the
you
name
would
for
know.
your
You
head?
booked it.
What's your head?
Cervical or something, right? Oh,
Okay.
that's different.
Okay. Nobody's massaging that. What the fuck? Okay. Anyway, it's a fancy whatever. It was a head massage.
It was
Okay.
a head massage, Indian style.
Yeah. And it was with a guy, and I never get massaged by a guy, but I was like, okay,
Nor do I.
I'm not going to like question this. Let's just do it. Anyway, my massage sucked. All right. It was an hour and a half, and it totally blew. And I would never recommend it. I wouldn't recommend the guy. The guy was nice. But I just felt like I was waiting for the real masseuse to walk in at any time, and it never happened. There was no vibe set in my room. I've had plenty of massages. The music was coming from his iPhone. It was just straight up stupid. Okay, so I wasted a ton of money, not a ton, but it was $200. And to me, that's a ton of money. Like, I could have spent that. Well, I was going to say I could have spent that eating, but he's getting hypnotized for his eating. So I wasn't going to go and eat lunch. So anyway, it was dumb. I came out and I was just like, that was a complete waste of money. But whatever. So, but when I came out, he had a different experience, and I was
Yeah.
so happy for that because I think his guy was straight up legit. And I had researched his guy more than I had researched my guy. So I think that in there is where the problem lies, is that he really had a real hypnotist and I had a fake masseuse.
Yeah, so my experience was vastly different. It was interesting. We spent about, how long was I in with this guy? Like 2 hours or something like
It was
that?
a 2-hour session.
Yeah, which also sounded brutal. Like I just gotten out of 3 hours of yoga. You know what I'm saying? And so
Just
when
go
she
with
told me it
it.
was going to be 2 hours, I was like, oh my God. Okay. So I'm not going to lie. There was a part of me that wanted to just, sort of pull the ripcord and bail out of this whole thing. But I know she already booked it and probably already paid the money. And I also knew that you guys would find a good laugh in all this. So I did it for your sake, people.
Stop it. You stop that
I did
right now.
Anyway,
You know you wanted to
I
do
went
it.
in with an open mind and I sat down and we talked for about 45 minutes about, what I wanted to accomplish. And really, that was a long time to talk about just like, well, I really just don't need to snack as much as I snack, And I feel like if I just don't snack and I just ate my normal meals, which have gotten a lot more normal now that I'm not working 2 or 3 jobs.
Okay,
at a
let's be
time.
honest though. Since you've been hypnotized, you have not snacked.
Well, you're telling everybody the ending before I even got there. So
Okay, sorry. I want to know about what was happening in the session.
I know I'm going to tell you in the session. So we started out and then, we had to sort of spell out 1 or 2 or 3 mission statements. It was like, I will only eat 2 meals a day, maximum 3. That's a quick mantra I can remember. Right. And then he gave me another one that said, I will not snack late at night. And then he gave me a third one. I forget what the third one was. But anyway, a lot of it had to do with, I needed a physical connection to these things that he was about to like basically implant into my brain as he hypnotized me. So what we came up with was pressing my index finger against my thumb. You can see me doing it right now on YouTube. And every time that I feel like, I want to crush some pretzels, I'm supposed to put these two fingers together and recite my little mantras. So he starts counting me down. And then he says, as he's talking to me, he says, James, we're at a point now where we're going to address an issue that you've been struggling with for a while. And there are basically 3 mantras. And so he starts repeating these mantras and he goes, now I've repeated the mantras. Now I want you to go deeper into your conscious, deeper, deeper. You could feel your head pitching up toward the ceiling. You could feel your feet planting into the ground. You are grounded. You're going deeper, deeper, deeper. And I was like, oh my God, this sounds obscene. But anyway, as we were doing it,
I seriously would have been afraid somebody was going to take my wallet.
Oh my God, I was afraid of more than that. Trust me. And I got to say, there were moments where I had complete awareness that I was in the room and I was drifting in and out. And there were moments where there were a couple times where I was like, look, at this point, it's like an hour. I have an hour and 15 minutes of hypnotization going on. There were moments where I just wanted to I felt like I was taking a nap. So, and I could still hear his voice in the background. And so it was sort of like guided transcendental meditation.
Stop it. You were hypnotized.
Okay. I was, I have to admit I was at certain points.
But didn't you say something about you couldn't get your thought right? Like you wanted to say the color red or something and you couldn't say it?
He said, okay, now I want you to imagine the colors of the rainbow. And he started going through red, orange, yellow down the list. And there were certain colors, I have to admit, like going into it, I was like, okay, he prepped me for this. But when he started doing it, he would say red. And I kept saying in my head to myself, fire truck, I don't know, name something red, apple, cherry, all this stuff. And I could not envision the word. I could not envision the color. I couldn't see it in my eyes.
So you couldn't see an apple?
I could not. I kind of had like flickers of it, but for whatever reason, I had like a total brain block on certain colors. And then when we got to blue, it was my favorite color. I thought of Blue Jay. That was my high school mascot. And
did that come clear?
That was easy. I thought of our blue house in LA. That was totally perfect. Our blue swimming pool, blue water, all that. But red, orange, yellow were problematic. And it was so problematic that it took me out of the state that I was in because I was bothered by the fact that I couldn't see these colors.
How was it when it ended? Like, did he snap his fingers? Like, do you remember?
No, there was just like there was a progression to go deeper, deeper, deeper. There was a progression to now you're going to start waking up slowly. And then now you're even more awake. But this happened over the course of like 15 minutes,
Oh, so it was slow.
Easily, something like that. He did ask me, I have to listen to the recording. He said, how long did you think you were out? And I said something like 15, 20 minutes or something like that. And it was actually 35 minutes. So
that's a huge difference.
To your point, I was hypnotized for some of it, clearly.
So did he mention, I thought you said to me something about a time warp?
Yeah. I mean, he said, when you're hypnotized, it's easy to have a time warp. He said, some people think they were out for 2 hours. Some people think they were out for 15 minutes like you did. But really the session's around 30 to 40 minutes, generally speaking. So I thought for sure that the actual time spent, I thought we were just going to have another sort of mini therapy session or something because he had already hypnotized me. He was done. He saw me blinking my eyes or whatever he saw, whatever the signs are that a hypnotist sees
when they're coming down. The person's
and I thought he was like, okay, he's good. I've implanted this stuff into his melon. He's got it now. No more pretzels, fat boy. And we're going to dip out of this. And so, but we didn't do it that way. He actually spent more time with me than I thought. And I didn't realize it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned a recording. He gave you a recording.
Yeah,
was
he gave
it
me
a
a
video
recording
or
of the whole session. No, it was a voice memo. So
that's actually really cool.
Yeah, it is. I prefer not to share it though. I want to listen to it a couple times first. I mean, honestly, I have not even listened to it since we left Sedona because we've been so busy. But to Tom's credit, I haven't snacked either. So it's been like 5 or 6 days now.
It's absolutely true.
At this point, and so
and then we went for lunch.
Yeah, we did. Where did we go to lunch that day?
Okay, so we went to this place called the Hitching Post. I believe that was the name of it in Sedona. It was just a nice, it was a really great lunch place.
Oh yeah, it was.
We went there, and then the
I
other,
forgot about that place. Yeah,
yeah,
you're right.
and then the other, and you didn't.
Well, I was still hypnotized, I think, at that point. So.
You didn't go crazy, and you just had a
What
moderate lunch.
What did I have? I forget what I had.
I think a salad and maybe a piece of fish you had. Yeah. So
totally worked.
it did. And then I had something else planned for us that night. I was going to have us do a sound bath, which is okay. If you
I was at my limit.
He keeps calling it.
I was at my limit with Sedona stuff at this point.
He keeps calling it a ball ceremony or a bowl ceremony. Yeah,
I thought it was a bell ceremony.
Yeah, it's not. Has nothing to do with bells. What it is that it's a round cylinder crystals, or it could be metal. I don't know. They're all different. And there's a wand that people they'll put it in the bowl, and they'll do it in a circular motion. It creates a sound. And it's very relaxing. This would have been perfect. I mean, I wanted to do I was so excited about this sound bath.
Oh my God.
I wanted to do it in the vortexes. So I was trying to find somebody that would do it in the vortexes for us. But I couldn't find anybody because it's really hot. So if you're going to do a sound bath in the vortices, you have to do it in the early morning, which I'm not a riser, or in the evening. And we had already done an evening hike. I couldn't, in any case, I couldn't find anybody to do it. So I just scratched that idea and we went for barbecue.
Yeah, we went for barbecue. And it was great.
I have been feeling bad about the fact that he got hypnotized, and right away we went out for lunch, and then I took him to barbecue, and there was this inside where I was like, I'm really not being supportive of this hypnotism session he had, but that barbecue was really good.
Oh my God, it was delicious. What was the name of that place? I forgot the name of that place.
Colt
Barbecue. Oh my gosh. It was really good. The staff was very cool. The girl who took our order was super helpful and guided us each into whatever we wanted.
But on a side note, you didn't overeat, neither did I.
No, I didn't pick out. We had plenty of food left over. God, they gave us a lot of food.
And normally, honestly, you would have eaten more ribs. We would have ordered dessert. We didn't do any of that. And he didn't even mention hey, should we order a dessert? I mean, I'm usually the one that does, but I was pretty surprised. I was like, wow, his hypnotizing thing really may have worked.
I mean, to be determined, people.
Right.
You'll be the judge in a few weeks. But yeah, going back to the bell bath, I decided
sound bath.
What?
Sound bath.
Well, I mean, so when she presented that idea to me, I had just come out of my, haze. And I was like one of those little 5-year-old kids where you ask them if they want to do something and they could tell you really want to do it, but they're not so sure themselves. And they just go, yeah. That was me. I was like, oh my God. When she mentioned the bowls and the bells and all that stuff, all I could smell was sage and patchouli oil. And I'm like, no, I'm not standing around in a burlap robe. I am good.
And we couldn't, because I couldn't find anyone anyway. So
I was grateful for that. I'm not going to lie. I was really, I was like, oh, that's, you go, oh man, well, there's nobody available. I was like, oh man, that's too bad.
He did. And then I said, do you want to go for barbecue instead? And so then we left the next day. And to sum up our trip to Sedona, it was, in my opinion, very average. We did get the great hiking and yoga experience. He got hypnotized. I got a terrible massage. But if I had to say why it wasn't very good, if I had to guess, I would say it's because we didn't stay at a resort, or we didn't know somebody who lived in Sedona. And I know that sounds crazy, but here's the reason. I think you experience the Sedona way if you know someone who lives there and who can take you to the Sedona places, or if you're at a retreat and all of those amenities are at your disposal and you can do the sound bath at a retreat. You can have one of those foo-foo massages that brings in all the energy and makes you a good person. I was expecting, honestly, I gotta be honest, I was expecting hippies walking everywhere, Birkenstocks, crystals, gray hair, wavy gray hair on women. I was expecting all of that. I guess like the 60s come to life is what I was expecting. And there was none of that. It was like just
It was
people.
all Patagonia and Lululemon. I'm not. Let's just let me jump in here.
I don't even think it was that.
It was
though.
commercialized.
Very commercial. There were
The-
strip malls everywhere. How
The
about
strip,
that?
The main strip, which essentially makes up the town, is full of great roadhouses and great bars and some, I don't know, I guess great restaurants. We had
It wasn't.
we found a couple on our own. For whatever reason, nobody was able to tell us where to go eat.
That's a different situation.
Yeah,
but
we'll
it
go there.
wasn't scenic. That's the thing. It was very flat. Meaning like the main street wasn't charming.
I just felt like all the buildings were like, it reminded me a lot of Park City in a way, but with
Not at all.
with red rocks and bushes everywhere.
Not at all.
But it was like shops after shops after shops.
Park City's so charming.
High price crystals. Everything was, sort of, not everything, but so many shops we went into were top end. It really wasn't until we got to, what's the name of that place? Something Creek Trading Company.
Oh no, it was Clear Creek Trading
Clear Creek Trading Company, where I was like, oh, boom, this is a way
But
different
it's just
experience.
a store. We weren't in a place. We were just at a store.
Well, yeah, but that store at least had they had mountain lion skulls, and
Okay.
they've provided props to like Kong Island and
Yeah, it was one cool
Karate
store.
Kid and all these things, and they just had like unique furs and knives and spears.
It
and
was one
they
cool
had
store.
actual Navajo tomahawks in this place.
Agreed.
Everything else, from a guy's standpoint, I'm sorry, I'm just like walking by these places. I'm like, that's the same crystal I saw in the other store. I know it's not. I know it's different energy. It came from a different vortex, or say whatever you want.
It was just
totally
very flat,
not,
very stale. I just thought it was just boring as shit. I mean, I thought it was very flat, very stale. I thought it was really boring. It wasn't what I thought, but I again go back to maybe we should have stayed elsewhere. Maybe we should have known somebody that lived there. The one thing that was interesting was this. We asked 4 locals, 4 people that lived there, where they would recommend for us to eat. None of them could give us a single recommendation. And to me, that is very odd. And I don't know. There was no homeless that I saw, though. Did you see any homeless people in Sedona?
Maybe like 1 or 2 people. No, actually, you pointed out those people at the in the little tent on the sidewalk.
No,
where
they were just anti-establishment.
Yeah. They weren't asking for money. They were asking for awareness.
First city yet, no homeless. Kind of weird. So I hey, props to them. But Sedona's out for me. I was really hoping that it would be a great place to maybe find a little place to call home, possibly. Nope. Flagstaff, though, looked great as we were driving
Flagstaff did look great.
to Sedona. I did not realize that Flagstaff is green. Very, very green. As we were driving, it looked like Oregon.
Yeah.
I was in shock. I had to take a couple photos. It was actually Arizona. It made me realize that I really don't know anything about geography, agriculture, where I live. Like I'm lame. Like for real. I thought all of Arizona was just a desert.
The region itself is beautiful. It really is. The mountains are so picturesque. The greenery around there was not something I expected. And the rocks are so red. There's iron oxide in the soil, in the stone. And I highly recommend going to Sedona for that. That would be the one thing where I would say, like, it looked nothing like any other hikes we've taken. Oh, the other thing I forgot to say is, we are looking for a hometown, and just the prices of real estate there were just way out of our zone. So,
Yes, agreed.
For that reason, we love Sedona. I would actually visit there again for the hiking. But, for our purposes, I would say we're moving on to the next town.
Okay, so then we left Sedona and we headed to
Santa Fe, New Mexico. You're going to have to talk. I need a minute.
everything that you would think it is. It's surrounded by art. It's surrounded by great food.
Do you think people think that when they think Santa Fe?
I do think they think really pretty architecture and art. Okay. I don't know. I'm sorry. Maybe they don't. So I knew that Santa Fe.
I expected an extension of Albuquerque, which I've been to.
Oh no. See, I knew
I was
Santa
not impressed.
Okay. I'm sorry. Then I knew Santa Fe was going to be amazing. I just did. I don't know. I knew people that had been to Santa Fe. I knew a little bit about Santa Fe. So I knew what to expect when I got here. So I guess you're right. Not everyone knows how amazing this place is, including you. So why don't you tell us what your impression was before you got here? Like, what
Yeah.
were your thoughts? So you thought it was an extended Albuquerque? And what does that mean to people who've never been to Albuquerque?
Okay, so back in May, I had the privilege to move our recently graduated daughter Parker from Boise State to Corpus Christi. We've talked about that before. We stopped in Albuquerque. We got here later at night, so we couldn't really tell the lay of the land. But the next morning, it became very apparent that we were not in a great section of Albuquerque. There seemed to be a lot of crime.
But we've learned now since we've been to Santa Fe that Albuquerque is a high crime city.
I
So we're
mean,
learning that as we're here, that it's not favored by a lot of people that live in New Mexico. They're disappointed with where Albuquerque has headed.
yes. And the reason for that, Parker and I quickly found, was we weren't just staying in kind of a bad area, but everywhere we went in Albuquerque was a bad area. Like, we could see beautiful houses up on the hill at certain points. We weren't in those areas. That's not where our hotel was. That's not where we were staying. The landscape was rough, everything. And
So you thought Santa Fe was just going to be an extension of that when you
I
arrived?
did. Sure. Santa Fe's probably got, it's probably more of a small town feel, a little villagey, but at the same time, I knew it was its own city with its own flavor. I just did not expect when we got here, frankly, to be slapped in the face with art and culture and food and cool people and great vibes everywhere we've gone. I did not expect that at all. It started the minute we got here. We're about to pack up as soon as we're done recording this episode and get out of here. And I got to tell you, I'm going to miss it. I'm overwhelmed. I am overwhelmed by, being a visual person and working in the visual arts and all that. I'm overwhelmed by all the sights. Like, I feel like I could stand in each and every gallery in Santa Fe for like an hour or two. And I've only scratched the surface on this city. And, it's pretty shocking to me, I must say. It's already in my top 5, I got to admit.
Yeah, we were greeted with a beautiful plaza to walk to right from our hotel.
Yeah.
And in that plaza, it's not just a closed courtyard area that is 4 city blocks. It is beautiful restaurants, as he said, beautiful art galleries. It's closed, obviously, to traffic, like I just mentioned. But then on the Sunday that we arrived, it had all these vendors from the local tribes selling goods. So it was just, beyond a feast for the eyes, it was an educational experience on that Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. And the location. So if you go to the heart of downtown Santa Fe, there's a plaza there. It's a park environment. You have street vendors selling jewelry and paintings of all sorts. Pottery, you name it. And then across the street, there is a place called Palace of the Governors. Under that awning, I guess, if you will, it's not really an awning, but under that cove,
I'd say it's an awning.
It's a strip of Native American designers, artisans, you name it, sitting there.
Metal workers.
Yeah, metal workers, all sitting there selling their wares. And you can just go through and, sort of look at all their pieces, bargain if you want. We really didn't do that.
Nobody was
it felt-
bargaining.
It felt really weird to
people
bargain with Native Americans. It's just bad karma.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't see anyone bargaining. Maybe, I'm sure there are people, that's not how we do it. Like, they're selling their goods and services. They've worked hard on whatever the pieces are. We were happy to buy those from them for the price that they were offering. What we did learn is that you cannot set up shop with your goods if you are not already like a registered if you're not already registered with a tribe. Like, you have to be a legitimate Native American artisan to be able to be there. So you can't be white person, you can't be Hispanic. The city takes it very serious, and each artist has a card with a registration number, what tribe they're from.
And they have to stamp their initials into every piece they make.
yes, so every item you buy, whether it's a piece of jewelry or a piece of pottery or a metal design, it has to be stamped with the artist's name on it, which I mean, I appreciate that. If the artist is working hard on it, I want their name to be on it. But the one thing I want to mention that we totally forgot about, which is very common here, is people kind of do things on their own time. So, for instance, unfortunately, Saturday night, we arrived in Santa Fe in the evening. Again, we try our best to arrive in any city during
Yeah.
the day now, but we unfortunately just arrived in the evening. So I want to backtrack just one quick minute. On the drive here, we were looking for restaurants, and James
Oh, that's right.
really wanted
Yeah. Oh
he
my God,
wanted
I
something
forgot all about this.
south. He wanted something.
Southwestern.
Sorry, Southwestern.
Yeah.
And so I found this place on Yelp. The reviews looked great. They were open till 9 o'clock, and it was only 7 at that point, and we were 20 minutes away. So I called them and I said, "Hey, how's your wait?" And she said, "Oh, there isn't a wait right now." I told her we had a dog. She said, "We have an outside patio. It's perfect."
Yeah.
But she said, "Hurry, because we're going to close."
And it said they were going to close at 9 or something like
Yeah,
that.
so
and
I
right
said-
now it was like 7:30 or something.
It was actually 7:10, and I
Yeah.
knew we had 20 minutes to get there. And I said to her, "Well, it says on Yelp that you're open till 9." And she said, "Well, we're kind of slow right now, so the kitchen is going to close up at 8 o'clock."
Yeah, we're just going to pack it in. We're done for the day. We've
Right.
had enough.
So I was like, "Oh my gosh, we have to get there because we still have 20 minutes to go."
Yeah.
And that is something that we have found to be consistent about Santa Fe. So a restaurant can say that they're open until 8, but if they're slow, they're packing it up at 7. A clothing store could have on the window that they're open until 9 o'clock. But if they're just like not seeing any business, they'll close at 6. I mean, there is just no rhyme or reason.
Oh, yeah,
It's
I
like,
got booted from a coffee shop the other day. I think it's like 35 degrees or something like that. 38 degrees, 35-degree coffee shop. It's in downtown. It says very clearly on Yelp that they close at 4:30 in the afternoon. And the girl poked her head into the room where myself and a couple other guys were working. And she said, hey guys, I'm wrapping up. It's going to be, we're going to be closing the doors in 10 minutes. And I looked at like my phone and I was like, oh my God, it's only 3:30. So at 3:45, they were just like, they're like, no, we're done. It's 3:45. Nobody else is coming in. We're good.
it's
So
kind of
we've
crazy.
made our money for the day. Get out.
And we have found that to be the case almost everywhere we go, which honestly,
Yeah, the Coyote Cantina was the same way.
yes,
Like kitchen's closing.
right, and it's open till 10. And she told me at 9 o'clock, "Do you want dessert?" And I said, "Aren't you open till 10?" And she said, she goes, "Well, we're closing up the kitchen soon." And
Yeah.
so, what? Fine, I'm okay with it
Yeah, it
because
took us a second, but we're like, all right, well, makes sense.
look, they're enjoying their lives. How could I give that? Like, how can I
Right.
make that a problem? Like, they're enjoying their lives. More power to them.
Yeah.
So that night we did meet with a client of mine who flew into Los Angeles to have me do permanent makeup on her several years ago, and we've always stayed in touch. And she said, "If you're ever in Santa Fe, I'd love to see you." Well, I reached out to her just to get some suggestions on where to eat. And she offered up her home to James and I, meaning to come visit. And we would go to dinner with her and her husband. Well, it ended up being, oh my gosh, the most magical night because it was a great introduction to Santa Fe. They live in a beautiful area. They shared with us how they purchased their home from Los Angeles, what made them do it, why they did it,
Yeah.
how they did it, how long they'd been looking.
Where they used to live in Palos Verdes, right?
Yes, why Santa Fe was on the map for them, and then just gave us the lay of the land. So it was beyond what we anticipated. We honestly thought, well, I did, that we would go for drinks, meet her husband, have dinner, and that be it. James and her husband hit it off really well, which is crazy because James doesn't like anybody.
Oh, come on. That's not true. I like most people just in doses. But no, Dale was fantastic. Dale and Sherry, thank you for
Yes.
having us.
Mhm.
First off, Dale's tour of the house was so impeccably explained. everything about the architecture of their place, how he knew even when they bought it and it was looking run down, that the bones of this place was as fantastic as they eventually made it.
It's true.
We got to see the after, we never saw the before, but picture, if you will, your typical sort of New Mexican round timbers that are basically your roof trusses, visible. They were not decorative. They were literally the supporting beams of the top of the house. Every
Details, just the
detail
details.
of their house.
The cutouts in the
spoke
wall.
of Santa Fe. Yeah, the what do they call them? They're niches, basically.
But there's a New Mexican term
there's
for
a term
it.
for them. The curved hallways, just everything about this place, the way they focused on every single detail. I mean,
The tiles in each room that were chosen.
yeah, they must have raided every shop in the downtown area to furnish this house, because it was immaculate and it was distinctly Santa Fe.
And
it was our first introduction for real.
And they did share that in the before, that the owners, like the doors of the home, those were put in by the builder, and the doors were something out of, I don't know, Architectural Digest, like old Spanish doors. Some of the tiles were also the original tiles that the builder had put into the home, although they had added some. It could have been in a magazine again. I mean, we were so fortunate. Another place we got to visit that was truly just outstanding.
Yeah, but Dale had built a garage next door, which was every bit as impeccable. He showed me the I want to say his cabinetry was made of birch. He had just showed up somewhere, and it was sort of an outlet place where they would basically rich people who would buy their houses up in the hills and want to change everything would get rid of this stuff, and would gut these houses, even though it was amazing, sort of
woodworking,
definitive Santa Fe elements. So he pulled up to a parking lot one day and he saw a row of cabinets that were made of birch, handmade.
Wow.
And
that I did not know.
Made them an offer. And didn't even he said, how much are these? Because they were sitting in the parking lot. They hadn't even put them into the warehouse yet. And they said, I don't know, can you give us $450 for him? And he's like, done. So he gave us $450. And strangely enough, he built this garage, and these cabinets ran like to the half inch the width of one wall. It was crazy.
Almost perfectly made.
It was destined to be in his garage. He had a band room, a recording room. Yeah.
I never even
long
made
story
it over
short,
there.
Denise and Sherry were wondering where the two of us went, but we were fast friends, and I've really enjoyed my time with him the entire time we've been here. Yeah.
We've enjoyed our stay so much in Santa Fe. We extended our trip here.
Yeah.
We felt like that 3 days wasn't enough. And it's 4 days isn't enough. Sherry and Dale gave us plenty of suggestions of where to go. We took a lot of those suggestions. Also, we met another woman here, a colleague of James. Her best friend lives in Santa Fe, and she was kind enough, Jenny, to have a drinks with us one night and give us the lay of the land, her version. And funny enough, it was very similar to Dale and Sherry's. And she had great insight on Santa Fe, and it's been so enjoyable on so many levels. I mean, just meeting the people that we've met.
Yeah.
At one point, James said to me, everyone here is so calm.
Yeah.
And I responded with, how could you not be? There is no wait to get a cup of coffee. There is no wait at the grocery store.
There's almost zero traffic. I mean, I think the most we've waited at a light is like a minute and a half.
Yeah, you're at a bar. There's zero wait for the bartender. There's no traffic. Any street, any highway, any freeway. If you see another car, it's kind of rare. I mean, honestly, you may see on the freeway 1 or 2, like that. More than 7 I've yet to see. What's not to be calm about? It's so easy to live here.
When people say that they live 20 minutes out of town, it's a legit 20 minutes, because there's hardly any traffic to get into town. Even the downtown area, a stoplight here, some stop signs, but you're kind of moving the entire time at the speed limit. Getting to and from our hotel, I mean, most of the time we've just walked.
Nope, we've walked almost the entire time. The only time we've gotten in the car has been to travel outside of the downtown area of Santa Fe.
Yeah.
And the one thing I don't know if most people know this, but Georgia O'Keeffe has a museum here. She's from New Mexico. So people really talk a lot about her. There's an area that she lived in outside of Santa Fe. We unfortunately did not get a chance to visit her hometown, but art is very prevalent here, and not just with Georgia O'Keeffe. There are galleries everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, the only way I can describe it is like New York. When you go to New York, there are certain districts and areas of New York that have just housed all the art galleries. Well, think of that, but the entire city of Santa Fe. There isn't just one area. It is art everywhere. And it's surprising because I've yet in my adult life have heard anyone say, I've flown to New Mexico to buy a piece of art. I've heard I've flown to New York. I've heard I've flown to Los Angeles. I've heard I've flown to Paris. I have yet to hear I've flown to New Mexico. But obviously people do, because when I say there are 100 art galleries, that is not an exaggeration. That is actually probably an understatement.
Yeah.
Or an underestimation.
Probably, I would say. I mean, even last night we went to Osteria di Sissi. Yep. Something like that. We saw the governor. The governor came in.
The governor of
she came in
New
with
Mexico
her entourage. Yes.
Was having dinner at the restaurant we were dining in as well last night.
And then
you're right. It's called Osteria di Sissi.
Something like that. Yeah. That. Not something like that. It was exactly what you just said that I butchered. I butchered it this time. But we walked around the corner from there with Dale and Sherry, who met us out again last night. They walked us down Lincoln Avenue. I think it's Lincoln Avenue. We saw a bunch of galleries we hadn't even seen, even though they were still in the proximity to downtown. And then we went to Cafe Pascal and we got Mexican hot chocolates.
Delicious.
You ladies bought a purse somewhere. I forget the name of that place. But after that, they said, well, since this is your last night here, you actually have to see Canyon Road before you guys leave. And sure enough, we went, we're leaving out the most important place. We went to the spa at Laredo. Right? Yes,
we did.
We went to the spa at Laredo. So we walked to the spa at Laredo.
It is the most photographed building, hotel in whatever you want to call it.
New Mexico.
In all of New Mexico, but they call it an inn, I think. The inn at Spa and Inn of Laredo.
Spa and Inn at Laredo. Yeah. We're going to leave. We're so excited about this place. We're just going to leave a bunch of places for you in the liner notes of the show. But this place was, I mean, it was incredible. Like all the little shops. We were lucky. We were there later at night and we could actually still look inside the galleries in this salon sort of walkway.
The doors were closed, but we could window shop basically.
Yeah. So then after that, we did go up to Canyon Road, which is basically a half mile of even more high-end sort of art galleries, all kinds of sculpture. I mean, you can't. Well, I went back to the Whirl Gallery here in town at least twice.
Whirl? Is it Whirl?
Worrell at least twice. I actually almost bought a piece there. We don't even have a house for me to put it in. It's so ridiculous. So I abstained. I got the guy's card and we'll talk about it later. But we went up Canyon Road. There's a restaurant there. All these restaurants are highly acclaimed too. There's a restaurant up there named Geronimo. Coyote Cantina we went to.
And then also the place called on Canyon Road called the Compound. And from my understanding, these three places have been nominated for James Beard Awards.
Yeah.
But that's just three. I was told that there were,
there at least two more.
Yes, two more in downtown
Coyote
Santa Fe.
Cantina was actually one of them.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So that's one of the three. It's the Compound, Coyote Cantina, Geronimo, and then there's two other places. Oh, Cafe Pascal actually won.
Yeah.
It won in 1999 a James Beard Award. We're talking a small city with all of these James Beard nominations or awards is unheard of. I mean, unheard of.
Yeah. Yeah. So
a James Beard is like the highest award you can get for a culinary or a food establishment. Either the chef gets the award or the place gets the award. So to get a James Beard Award is like getting the gold medal at the Olympics.
And we did find out statistic that Santa Fe is the second highest, art dealership city in the country.
Yes, that is true. The
Um,
most art galleries in the entire country. Number 2, New York being number 1.
Yes. So pretty dang impressive. Suffice it to say that Denise and I have been blown away. I think your expectations were a little more leaning toward that. My expectations were just, I wasn't fully expecting to love this place as much as I did. I'm going to be honest. But let's get into the neighborhoods and some of the areas we traveled outside of Santa Fe, starting with Los Alamos.
Go ahead.
So Los Alamos, for those of you who are history buffs, know that it's basically where a national laboratory exists. And way back in the 1940s, they were very instrumental in the development of the atomic bomb to end a world war and defeat Hitler and the Axis of Power. So that alone is enough to get you to drive up there.
They still have the lab there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a federal laboratory.
Yeah.
It's a city and you cannot get in.
Yeah.
There are guards everywhere, gates everywhere.
Yeah.
You have to have certain passes. It's really crazy impressive.
Yeah. And in the lab there, are scientists who,
Physicists. Yeah.
physicists, nuclear fusion, supercomputing, you name it. We saw tons and tons of cars going in there. We were not invited.
We had to do a U-turn.
We drove up into the parking lot and we quickly figured out, like, as they were swiping people in with their clearance passes, that we were not going to make clearance.
We were not.
So we turned our little van around with our doggy. The area of the area of Los Alamos, we'll get to White Rock in a minute. The area of Los Alamos was really interesting, though, because of the houses, and you made a special note of them. Some of them were nice, and many of them were run down.
Yes, it looked actually like a town that was more on the lines of a poverty-stricken area. And I did make a note to him. I said, either this area right outside this lab has been hard hit by poverty, or the scientists here are working so many hours, they just cannot keep up with mowing their yard and painting the siding. And come to find out, it was the latter. The scientists there make anywhere from $800,000 a year on up, and they do spend a lot of the time in their lab. So taking care of the house is the last on their list, and it shows.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And this was confirmed later by...
that's how I'm telling you. It's a fact. The Jenny that, met with us for drinks is very well versed on everything Santa Fe, and especially Los Alamos, because she has a foundation that deals with the residents of Los Alamos. And she confirmed that it is, all those homes are very expensive. I don't think they start less than $900,000, and they look like they're run down. They look like no one takes care of it, because the scientists that live in those houses don't take care of it because they are too busy creating weapons of mass destruction
and national defense. So
yes,
thanks. I appreciate it.
We do.
I mean, I'm happy they're not focused on their hedges.
Me too. So, but it did actually answer the question that was lingering, which is, why is this area neglected?
Yeah. So after that, after we sort of drove around Los Alamos, we really didn't do any museums because we had the dog with us. We ended up not being able to do Bandolero Canyon.
It's actually
Bandolier Mountain.
National Park.
Because we also had the dog with us. And those of you who know, you cannot take a dog into a national park. So we skipped that. We went down to White Rock Overlook, which was gorgeous. And we could see the canyon outside of Los Alamos back on the way to Santa Fe.
It was beautiful.
Yeah. Spent a little time there. And then Denise was hungry. And so
always
we found a place. The minute was it you pulled it? It doesn't matter who pulled it up. The minute it was pulled up, it said Sopapilla Factory. And we ended up stopping there in a nearby town called Pewaukee.
Wow, that was impressive. You said it perfectly.
Did I? Okay,
yeah.
Good. Denise had her sopapillas that she had been lusting after.
Oh, they're delicious.
I finally got another dose of my Southwestern food. So the first night we stopped at Old Trail Inn, I was able to get a ribeye and a chili relleno and a little side of corn cake or whatever it is, and it was delicious. But this time around, I knew very well when we showed up in the parking lot and I saw blue corn enchiladas on the menu, I said to myself, this is going to be a great Southwestern eating experience.
I ate 3 sopapillas.
Yeah. You did.
4.
You did.
I actually ate 4. I'm not. Yeah, she brought 4, and
Oh,
then
you're
she
cheating.
brought 2 in the beginning. I ate those 2, and then I ate 2 more.
Yeah. And it's important to say that, you know, these places that we're talking about, Old Trail Inn and Sopapilla Factory, they're nothing special to look at from the side of the road.
Nope.
But if you want the traditional meal, sometimes you need to go into a hole in a wall to get a really good dining experience.
Yep.
I can say I'm leaving here satisfied, not just because I'm not snacking, but also because we got our fill of Southwestern food while we were here. I feel super lucky for that.
And I really want to stop at Old Trail Inn before we head out because it is owned by a family. The husband came out and said hello to us as we were eating. Yeah. The chef, yep. His wife was our waitress, and the food was amazing.
It was incredible.
It's just amazing. It's just so basic. It was flavorful. It was cooked perfectly. My shrimp wasn't overdone. Just so all that to say, I think I'm going to make you stop there.
I'm fine with that. You could tell there are about 6 generations that went into every meal that comes out of that place.
But I just want to say, when you're traveling on the freeway and you're going to these different areas, you are also hitting different reservations. And there are signs on the freeway that tell you what reservation you are now entering the property of.
Yeah.
So the freeway may very well be a federal piece of property that you are driving on, but 1 foot outside off of that pavement, you are now on Native American soil. Yeah. And be very clear, there are rules.
Yeah.
And they
for sure
they state those rules. And if you don't abide by those rules, that is on you.
At some point that day, we went across the Santa Clara reservation, and there are signs clearly marked at the beginning of your entry into this place that say, essentially, they're not responsible for any quote unquote accidents that happen to you while you are misbehaving on their land.
Yep.
So
don't mess around.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those things where they sort of have their own law enforcement. We saw the Santa Clara, police department.
Yep.
Yeah, police station. And then we went through there. We tried to look for pottery at one point, and the place we pulled up to, 2 Doberman pinchers came out. So we said, okay, we carefully turned our van around and got out of there. We went to the town of Espanola, found some really big houses there, but the surrounding area was pretty run down. We decided for the amount, $600K and up, they were asking for some of these properties, and half an acre, 4+2s, great looking houses, just not, I don't know, like for us, not a lot to speak of in the area.
Aesthetically, no.
Yeah. I mean, kind of whenever I see a Dollar General, I'm just going to point out, that's usually my tip off that I'm not sure I want to live in this neighborhood because I grew up in that environment. I just, I don't want to return to that. I feel like I've worked hard all these years, and I'm happy with a charming little grocery store instead of a chain bargain basement store. Anyway, so we decided quickly that Espanola wasn't for us, but the following day we went to Eldorado.
We did.
Rolling
you found
Meadows.
That. You again, it was a recommendation from Jenny, who had drinks with us, and
Jenny Parks. We keep mentioning her names. Jenny Parks of the Los Alamos National Laboratory Foundation.
Yep.
Foundation. LANL Foundation. I'm going to leave a link to her website in our show notes. She knows everything about the economic issues facing New Mexico, which is actually the poorest state in the nation.
Yes. We've been told by a couple of people it is the poorest state in the nation.
Educational issues, getting, children on the reservations and in the barrios educated. And, this organization of hers has been around. They just celebrated their 25-year anniversary. And frankly, they're doing amazing work with a coalition of other organizations to try and raise the level of education for young people in the state. Very commendable. Thank you, Jenny. I can't say enough about everything you laid out, the great parts and the blemishes of New Mexico.
And her office is right in Espanola, and she loves it there. It just wasn't for us what we wanted. So she gave us some other recommendations, and one of them was this area called
Eldorado. Eldorado is a slew of adobe houses scattered across decent sized lots, really pretty meadows, mountains in the backdrop. You can see the sky above you. You can see every cloud rolling above you. I really liked it. I was expecting as we left the city to sort of hit more and more desert looking land since we were moving away from the mountains. I was shocked to find all these meadows. So many people let the wildflowers grow in their front yard.
They didn't mow.
There wasn't a ton of manicuring going on or anything,
but in
like
a
that,
beautiful way.
It was gorgeous. It was so gorgeous. Those houses are still a little expensive. We're talking $600,000, $700,000 for a 3+2. However, if they ever come down, we're keeping an eye on it. So I really like the area. They had a little grocery store for Denise.
They did.
She was happy.
I was really happy. The first thing he did after he knew that this was an area that we both agreed on, he looked up how close a grocery store was. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
There was a coffee shop for me. There's a pizza shop for our kids. A burrito place, a pet store for our dog. It really, and reminder, it's legit only 20 minutes out of downtown Santa Fe. So whatever you need, whatever grocery store, big box grocery store you need to get to is still right down the road. So we really liked Eldorado a lot. And then we moved on to another area Jenny had pointed out called La Cienega. We learned later when we met with Dale and Sherry that this is a primarily Spanish section of town. When I say Spanish, I mean real Spaniards, generational Spaniards who had lived here for probably over a century, I imagine. So a lot of older farms and stuff, very agrarian culture, very rural. It didn't really appeal to us too much.
It was a little too rural. And the closest grocery store, 12 miles.
Yeah, 12 miles. So
that was a little far.
That was a little far for Denise.
But we did stumble upon something really cool as we were looking at the area. What did we stumble upon?
Well, as we were driving, if you live in LA, you see the yellow signs everywhere, and they're usually coded with an arrow and some sort of code word that lets production people know. So if you're an electrician or camera person, you get a call sheet from your producer and it says where you're headed, where the address is. And as you're driving there, you will see, and they'll tell you on this call sheet, your code word is... Like
for Batman, when they were shooting Batman in LA, they did not use Batman.
Yeah, they would use something like White Knight or something like that. Whatever the code word is, White Knight. So you know it's your production. So as you pull off of Malibu Canyon Road and you're going up some back street somewhere, they'll have these yellow signs posted with White Knight and then an arrow that directionally points you where to go. We were driving yesterday, and as we got off the freeway to go to La Cienega, I saw one that said wind. And it had an arrow pointing.
Yep.
And we having been here a few days, we've been told repeatedly that the AMC show Dark Wind or Dark Winds, I forget.
I think it's Dark Winds,
plural. Has been recording here in the been shooting here in the Santa Fe countryside. So.
So what did we do?
We went and looked around. We went
like
and looked around La
Cienega,
tourists. But then on the way back, we're like, you know what? We got to check this out. And sure enough,
we followed the arrows.
We went up this winding country road and we found their crew parking.
We found the whole city that's built.
Yeah, you did.
For this show.
You saw it in the distance. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said, "Oh, do you think that's it over there?" And I looked, and there was the back half of a barn was missing. You could just tell it was a facade. It was a flat, as we call it in television land. And so you knew it was just like for the movie set.
And then
I said, I think you're right, honey. That's it.
And then in the middle of nowhere, literally a parking lot with all types of cars. And I said to him, that's it. That's it. That's where they're shooting. So we went to the parking lot. Sure enough, there's signs everywhere, crew parking, and then a dirt road that led to that fake town. But they were clearly shooting. Yeah. I said to James, if we go down this dirt road right now, the director's going to be screaming, who is this? Who are these yahoos in this minivan in our shot? I really wanted to do it though.
Yeah. So we went past the sleeping PA into the parking lot and he woke up as we were leaving and, we decided, ultimately, I have this bad knack whenever Denise is trying to record me that we will be on a completely empty street. And all of a sudden, the minute she hits the red button to record me for social media or something, all of a sudden 10 cars and 40 people will come around. And
Always.
it's just a bad karma thing that I have.
It's always.
I did not want to give Dark Winds my karma. I know those people are up there working really hard to make a great television show. I haven't watched a single episode, which is kind of weird for me because I'm such an AMC fan of all their programming. Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. You were a big Mad Men fan for
Walking Dead. I mean, on and on.
Shows.
The list goes on.
I think it's only because we've been on the road that I haven't really dipped into Dark Winds, but I did not want to infest them with my bad juju. So we left the parking lot. We headed back to Santa Fe. And then to rewind, we had an amazing dinner with our friends Dale and Sherry last night. They showed us all the places we mentioned to you. And frankly, I feel like we could go on and on about this place forever, but I think we need to wrap this up. And I think you need to give us your top 5 and bottom 5.
Okay, so top 5. I'll tell you right now. So my top 5 the drive to Sedona from Utah is incredible. And you can see the Grand Canyon on that drive. So that would be one of my top 5. I don't have any top 5 of Sedona, unfortunately. The hiking and the yoga was great, but it didn't make my top 5 list because Santa Fe just blew it out of the water. So Santa Fe, it's quiet. I love that. The architecture here is beautiful. They keep in line with the traditional architecture. No one has come in and decimated it and tried to make it modern. It's legitimately just consistent and pleasing to the eye. The food here, wonderful. Yeah. We've had Southwestern most of the time, but we did have Italian last night. It was delicious. We've ventured out and have had salads and smoothies, and everything has been very, very good. Not a complaint. We even had pizza, wood-fired pizza. I would have them cook the crust a little longer, but still really good.
It was a tiny bit doughy. Yeah, go ahead.
The arts. The art here is, again, something we talked about. It's in my top 5. Every gallery is worth a stop, which is not something you say in most cities. And then the last but not least, I love the locals. I love the locals in this town. Everyone has been really nice and welcoming, and I appreciate that. So that's my top 5. My bottom 5. For Sedona, I do have a bottom. That is that maybe you have to go to a resort to get the full Sedona experience. So for Sedona, I feel like it's very commercial and it looked like a bunch of strip malls. So Sedona hit my bottom 5. Santa Fe, one of the bottoms for me is that it's not for young people. And I know that could be a turnoff for anyone in their 30s, maybe even 40s. So a little bit disappointing that they roll up the streets very early. So that would be a bottom for me, looking toward like my kids. They would want something a little more active. Also, again, going back to they roll up the streets very early. That also for me is a bottom because even though I'm in my 50s, I still like to go out maybe after 8 o'clock, even if it's just to grab a cocktail with my husband. Very hard to find a place that's open after 8. And then, also, they don't really adhere to any capitalistic kind of norms. That's a bottom for me also. I see that there are so many avenues that people can make money here. Just how about keeping your shop open on the weekend after 6 o'clock when people are venturing out after their dinner? I mean, there's so many opportunities to sell your goods and services. So for me, it's kind of that to me is a bottom. Like, I guess I would like to see a little tiny bit more of an entrepreneurial atmosphere here because I think there are so many ways to make money. But as people have told me, they like it the way it is. Leave it alone.
Yeah, that's a cultural thing here.
Yep. Those are my top and bottoms.
Those are your top and bottoms? All right, I like them. I would say my top 5 for Sedona are the hiking, the mountains, the sun, the red soil, and I don't know. I guess that's number 4.
Really
and my friend Tom, who was my hypnotist.
Those are great.
That's really if you're a nature buff, I think Sedona's for you. I wouldn't bother too much with the town stuff. For me, it was just like I said. To me, it just felt like super sort of upscale, commercialized in a lot of ways, in a lot of little nooks and crannies, and I felt like it was a little overdone. I was expecting a way more earthy experience than I found there.
Agreed.
So, and I'm not even a hippie, so there you go. The top 5 dislikes about Sedona. Well, I've already just, all those things I just basically said. The other thing I would add is the real estate is way too high for us. And I'm glad it works for the people there and the people selling their homes there. It's on my it's my list, so I can put it on I can put it on my dislikes if I want.
You go right ahead.
The fact that I can't afford a house there, I just like that. Anyway, so moving on to Santa Fe. I've loved the coffee. Even at our little hotel, they offer double espressos that are incredible. The coffee on tap here at our little bed and breakfast has been great. I've had it 3 different places downtown. My favorite being, like I said earlier, 35 degrees. The other thing I will say is just the fact that there's artwork everywhere. That's my number 2. To look at me, you wouldn't think I'm an art gallery person, but like I said, I work in the creative arts. I work in the visual arts. It's a huge thing when I go to a place and the aesthetic is like on point. I really dig this place for that reason. Number 3 is the food. All the restaurants we've mentioned, all the restaurants we're going to put in the liner. James Beard Awards. Are you kidding me? Like this place, it's just unspeakable, really.
Not what you expected.
How crazy good almost every single place we've walked into has been. Number 4 is the people. They're super cool. Everybody says hello. You think that, you hear that about a lot of places. It's just that they say hello in a different way here. And it's just kind of soothing. I'm not going to lie.
Oh,
it's
You're
like
getting soft.
It's really peaceful. I know. I'm like, oh, these people have me totally disarmed. And normally I'm an a-hole, so I like that a lot. And my number 5 is just the way they've sort of preserved the generational cultures here. The Spanish neighborhood we talked about, the adobes downtown, the countryside, the nature preserves, the hiking, all that stuff. They've really kept a keen mind on keeping Santa Fe, and I think that's huge.
Wow, that's a really good one. That is you actually said it really perfectly.
Oh, thank you. And then I only really have one thing that I haven't, that sort of gives me pause about moving here, and that is that it is the poorest state in the nation. That bothers me. I know that as individuals, there's probably something you and I could do about that when we came here, if we wanted to invest our time and our efforts.
There's so many opportunities to volunteer and make things
like
better.
Jenny is doing every single day.
Agreed.
But I feel like it's an overwhelming feeling when I've been to Albuquerque and I've seen sort of the abject poverty and the results of that, the crime, the drug abuse, the homelessness, all that stuff. I do appreciate that Santa Fe knows exactly how many homeless people they have. They have 192 homeless people here.
Yep. That's the number Jenny gave us. And I said, wow, you have a number. And she said, we do. And it should be easy to fix.
Yeah. But as you know, it's a complicated problem all over the United States. And even here on that small of a scale, just 192 known individuals, it's tricky. And I think when you're also dealing with, poverty on the reservations, there's just a historic factor there of how kicked around Native Americans have been over the years and how they reject capitalism in so many ways, which is, frankly,
it's very much a white man's thing.
It's going to take us a minute coming from Los Angeles or, other big cities. It's going to take us a minute to wrap our heads around that. I welcome it. But that's sort of
a non-capitalistic environment. Wow.
The other thing though, I do have actually a 6th like, and that is my friend Chris Hosky that I met. He actually is the Navajo gentleman who made the ring that Denise bought for me with my own credit card. I'm going to link to him.
It was handy.
Yeah. I'm going to link to him on Instagram. I'm going to put him in the show notes, and I can't say how nice this guy was. He offered to join us for margaritas.
He did.
Really welcoming, kind of spelled out his whole process. He's able to make his jewelry without seams in it. You can't even tell. It's quality stuff. He's got 3 or 4 kids who all are in the same trade as him. He's just a craftsman. He's an artisan. He's a super nice guy. And
what
frankly,
tribe is he from?
He's Navajo.
Okay.
Yeah. He's a super nice guy. And other than the people we kind of sort of knew of through friends moving here, I made a friend. So Chris, I really enjoyed talking with you for the brief time we were together yesterday. You spelled out a lot of everything I need to know about not only your process, but just about the culture here. Like everything you spoke about really sort of put things in a light where I love this place even more.
Aw.
So as you can tell,
You are soft, honey.
I know. I'm like, I am loving Santa Fe. I'm loving it. So anyway, I think we've talked enough.
Yes, I'm sure everyone is tired of hearing our voices right now, but I think we give a lot of good information.
We're listening to you, Anne from Australia. We are trying to give more details on our restaurants and the
Yes,
places
Anne.
we visit. And we again invite you guys not only to follow us and set your notifications when we drop a new episode on Spotify, Amazon, or to follow us on Instagram, at Skiptown Denise, at Skiptown James, at Skiptown All Stars. But also we want to say that we are working with Katie, our social media girl, who's helping. Would she like to be called social media girl? Probably not. She would probably
Social
not
media-
appreciate that.
Katie is our
Guru.
social media
Guru. Let's get back into the spiritual realm. She's our
social
sensei.
media guru.
Namaste, Katie.
Namaste, Katie.
Namaste. She is going to be helping us post a Google map where you guys can see everything we hit, even if we glossed over it in the episodes. And if we have something to say about that location, it's also going to be on that map.
Yes. And also, I want to thank everybody that shoots me DMs. A lot of you have been just suggesting places like, hey, you don't know if I'm actually going to go, but hey, if you're in this area, try it. I've done it. Coyote Cafe was a recommendation from a listener, Alicia. She also hiked the Narrows and she had a great experience. So it was so fun for us to do it. We also got a recommendation from another listener named Gareen, who's been throwing recommendations at me left and right. We've gotten recommendations from Wisconsin. So please, if you have your favorite spot and you're willing to share it with us, send it. We might not make it on this trip, but we're going to hit the upper part of the country in another visit. And we have a list of everything you've been sending us. So thank you for thinking of us. We're considering all your recommendations. And if we can do it, we actually do.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate Success by Stacy on YouTube for commiserating with me over the treacherous condition we found our daughter's apartment in a few weeks back.
Yes.
And I can't say, I mean, it's really weird. It's like, I really love just hearing the feedback and knowing people are out there like listening to what we've said. I forget, oh my gosh, I'm going to kill myself. But the lady who responded about the freezer and gardening and growing your own food in Idaho City.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
she
my
was
gosh.
on YouTube, I think, right?
She was.
Yes.
And she sent a huge message directly to you.
Yes.
And it was fun that you got to respond. So it's great to know that our friends are listening and love us, but we knew they would love us anyway, even if we totally tanked every episode. It's great to know that you're listening and you're giving us your feedback, to hear from people outside of our normal hemisphere of friends and family has been really rewarding. And frankly, I'm not afraid to sit in a coffee shop and put an episode together for you, knowing that you're out there. Thank you so much. We've talked enough. We have to check out of this hotel. We're headed to Texas by way of Roswell. Coming up next week, we got some special surprises for you. Ooh.
It'll be fun. Empty nest, full tank.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.